Coming up, like Tim Robbins in Shawshank Redemption, the Nuggets are free. The rain is falling and washing away all the excrement of the terribleness of the last couple of months. They get a good win in Sacramento. We'll talk about why. We'll talk about what was different. We'll talk about what was the same. And we'll look forward to what's going to be an absolutely bonkers final 4 days in the Western Conference of the NBA. This is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday, whether you're on youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, joining the thousands and thousands of Nuggets fans, or if you're joining us on a podcast service, probably Apple Podcasts, because that's where 60% of our audience is at. Go give us a 5-star review because Apple lets you do that. Go do that. Go give us a 5-star review. I haven't talked about that one team in months. Months I haven't talked about it and won't. So give us a 5-star review over there. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I write a Substack called The Denver Dig. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn and Mile High Sports. He's on the Pickaxe and Roll podcast throughout the week. Today's show, we will break down the Nuggets win over the Sacramento Kings as everybody scored. Just everybody scored. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double figures and 4 players with 20 or more points. Jalen Pickett's big game. David Adelman's debut. We'll get to all of it here on Locked On Nuggets. Hope you guys are doing well. Okay. Hey, Fernando. I want to shout out Fernando real quick. Fernando's here. And Fernando last night was repping Locked On in the DMVR chat, and they kicked him. Welcome, Fernando. We'll never kick you here. We love everybody. All Nuggets fans are welcome here. We like it when you watch their show. Those are friends of ours. We're nice to them, even though we're better. The Nuggets get the win versus the Sacramento Kings, 124-116. It
was a good game.
And this is like the basketball analyst is like a rabid mountain lion on mescaline that wants to jump out of this bag and make all sorts of assertions. I am going to hit that analyst with a stick and make the big kitty go to sleep because Nuggets fans need to feel good because it's been a rough week. It's been an emotional week. It's been a hard time. This losing streak has sucked. The season has mostly sucked. And they got a good win. Jokic had an awesome quote about awakening the beast. What was your reaction to the Nuggets win over the Kings?
I thought they approached this game really well. Honestly, I knew basically that this was going to be a very similar game plan to the ones that Michael Malone has run because you don't want to upset the apple cart too much. You want to do similar things. You just want to play harder. And they played harder. And they held the Sacramento Kings to 25 points in each of the first quarter and the third quarter. Nikola Jokic played both of all 12 minutes of each of those quarters. So to me, that is pretty notable that they gave better effort and it was a little bit more consistent in how they were guarding certain actions. I thought that Jokic was playing up at the level of the screen pretty well in certain of these matchups. And Zach LaVine had some great buckets, especially on reverse passes and reversing across the court. And DeMar DeRozan got to the free throw line a few times and they gave up some corner threes as they often do, but ultimately I thought that this was a really good performance from Denver and a nice response where they just played harder. And oftentimes that's what it takes in this business is you play harder, you focus a little bit more. I thought Michael Porter was moving pretty well. I thought Aaron Gordon was moving pretty well. And it was pretty noticeable to me.
So we kind of talked about whether or not how they were going to play in this game. And I decided you have two choices, either nope, still broken, or you can go with everyone in the organization was they're going to come out like a house of fire tomorrow. And I don't know this qualifies as house of fire.
No.
But maybe this is the point is the roster's still flawed. But when they play well and they play together and they play connected, they can still look pretty good. And that was really what happened. I thought this comment from Michael Talley was excellent. Jokic's defensive effort was noticeably better, and his offensive workload was noticeably smaller. Those two things are related. I think that's an excellent point. So let's talk defense here. All right. The cat's going to kind of like peek its head out and yell a bit. So like the overall defensive numbers here are not good. And they continue to be like the Nuggets won this game with offense. Spoiler, like you have 4 guys that have 20 points, you're in a pretty good spot to win the game. What I will say is process-wise, I went back and I watched all the defensive possessions, and there are some things that are the same, and there are some things that are different. What Ryan said about the effort level was very noticeable, and I will say here's a take. Here's a big take. There has never been a bigger or more important leadership game from Nikola Jokic than this one. This was his biggest leadership performance, not just on the sideline, clapping for Jalen Pickett, not just, taking the whiteboard, not, in the huddles, yelling and giving all these directions, those type of things. Jokic did all of the off-court stuff that I have said so often that it's important for him to do as the best player.
Yes.
He also did all the on-court stuff. So one of the things that was interesting, I thought, in their coverage, and this won't work versus everybody, but it did work versus the Kings. Jokic did not only a better job of showing aggressively at the level and not just like what I hate is when it's a screen and Jokic is like, I'm at the level, which means he's like a step behind standing there. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And Jokic was active, actually harassing the dribble and then retreating back to hedge and recover, which was forcing Levine to have to reset the offense. There was a bunch of sequences first half where the Kings had to that's what the scheme is built to do, is force them to be like, all right, we didn't get it. Let's reset it. Like, here, I'm going to pass it to you, give it back to me, and we'll try something else.
Yeah.
Like, get them into their second and third actions. That's what you want to do. What was also interesting, though, was Jokic was playing out of that sometimes. Like, if there was a screen and then like a pause as he recovered and the guard would attack, he was playing a drop, and that drop coverage was a lot better tonight. So when they were dropping, one of the problems they have had this season is even when they drop, guys were overhelping. I wrote about this on the dig about their habit for overhelping, about how they don't trust each other. They don't think the other ones can guard at all. And so they would overhelp, trying to be like, I'm just trying to help my brother. And it's like, no, stop it. Stay home. Your brother's problem is much better to deal with than your problem, which is a corner 3. And you saw Michael Porter Jr. and Jalen Pickett in particular stay home on those corners when Jokic was there. So you had this like nice level of basically a matchup zone on the back line of the guard being like, all right, I can try and drive into Jokic with help from squeezing from either side. I can't make the easy pass, and I can't reverse to the corner. They got a few.
Yeah.
And like DeMar did his thing because DeMar's DeMar. But like, this wasn't like David Adelman did not come in and like change the scheme dramatically. This was not, they've done all this stuff that I'm talking about tonight. They've done that this season too. Like they would be like, we didn't change anything. If I asked, them, we didn't change anything. Yeah. We had one day. We didn't install anything new. We've done all this stuff before, but the execution was way better because they cared about it. They were engaged and they were willing to engage. And if nothing else, maybe maybe it was necessary to fire who they fired in order to get that kind of effort. Maybe it was the only thing you can do, and that was what caused it. But whatever the result is, the effort that Nuggets fans want to feel proud of, they got it tonight versus the Kings.
Yeah, and we'll like let's not sugarcoat this. It's a win versus a 9th seed, a team that they should be better than. There's no doubt that this was what was supposed to happen, and Denver took it seriously. And I think they knew that they had to change some things, both mentally and physically, on how they were approaching this stuff, and emotionally, frankly. And they ultimately got it done, and it was great. Like, look, the Kings also shot 16 of 36 from 3, 44%. They were running pretty hot. Zach LaVine making some crazy shots. Keon Ellis shooting a pretty high level. They only turned the ball over 8 times. They got to the free throw line 14 out of 17. Denver, they let go of the rope a little bit in the fourth quarter, and I think that should be noted that, like, once this game was over, the Kings still scored some extra points kind of in a garbage situation that probably propped up that number a little bit. But look, I was pretty impressed. I was pretty impressed with how they handled it. They deserve that credit. And the most important thing that they can do is, all right, now you move on and you win another one. Now you string together some wins. Now you string together good moments that you can feel good about and consistently bring the same effort consistently every single time, because any team can have one game where they pop. Any team can have one game where they turn it over and they turn things around and everybody's hugging and very excited. But the most important thing that Denver can do is show that this is repeatable.
Buzzkill. Up next,
look. They can do it.
I'm just kidding.
They can do it.
I'm just teasing you, Eeyore. Up next, we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk to Mr. Rotations here, and we're going to talk about the rotation differentials, Jalen Pickett's big game, most notably, and some of the subtle differences that happened tonight in the win over the Kings. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. The show is sponsored by Betterhelp. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health, but traditional in-person therapy can be expensive, often ranging from $100 to $250 per session. That's where Betterhelp comes in. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense, saving you time and money. I've had that thing before where I'm like, I can't afford therapy right now. I've had that. And it's important to remember that there are ways in order to make it available to you and make it affordable. Those are options, and Betterhelp's a great one. You should not push that down the list of things that you should do. Like, it's good work to do on yourself, and you're worth investing in. Therapy isn't just for life's toughest moments. It can help with everyday stress, learning how to set boundaries, or developing positive coping skills. Having access to support when you need it can make a big difference. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. We're also brought to you today by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on your annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. We have a newsletter. You should check it out. It's lockedondaily.com. And we do original stuff in there. You get cool quotes. We do cool stats. We do quotes. We do all sorts of information. We get all sorts of great stuff in there. So make sure to check it out at lockedondaily.com. Okay. Mr. Rotations.
Yes, sir.
What was different tonight?
Would you like them uploaded and shown on the screen?
Sure. Let's get fancy.
Yeah, we can do that. Effectively, there was not that much different. I'm not going to lie to sit here and lie to people and say that there were these excess things that they actually had happen. This was the one from Indiana, and that's the comparison that I want to be able to throw at people, just so they know, okay, this is a general baseline for about how it goes. You basically have Michael Porter staggering. You have Nikola Jokic playing the entire first and third quarters. And this is the one that happened tonight, where you had Michael Porter staggering and you had Nikola Jokic playing the entire first and third quarters. The big difference, and people can see this, is that Russell Westbrook played only 17 minutes tonight. And I think that's kind of notable. That was his fewest minutes that he has played since game 20 of the season. And that's kind of wild to me.
He clearly lost minutes to Pickett, and we'll talk about that independently. Where did he lose minutes to Pickett?
It was not. So if you look at it here, Russ had a longer leash in the initial games in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter with Michael Malone. He was also a defensive sub that would come in kind of the late area. And that wasn't necessarily the right call, I will say, as we know. But in this one, Pickett came back in, and he came back in pretty soon for Russ in that fourth quarter as they were trying to kind of stabilize things. Russ didn't have a good game in general. But other than that, man, like I just think that this was pretty similar to how they've been running it. DeAndre Jordan plays the second and fourth quarters at the beginning. Nikola Jokic is the first and third quarter. And Julian Strawther, they tried to get in there. He didn't have a great game today, but I will note he had 7 rebounds. And so that's not going to show up in most people's analysis for Julian Strawther. But even when he wasn't really doing that much else and kind of wild, he was at least rebounding the basketball and playing tough. So it's interesting to think about it from those perspectives. And I'm glad that we kind of have at least some visual indicator of how things have been going.
Okay. You can check out Ryan's rotation coverage on his Twitter account, which I swear to God, I've tried a million. Is it at NBA Blackburn?
Yep. Pretty simple.
Okay. I nailed it. I know it sounds like that, but I keep wanting to do our Blackburn NBA.
And like, that's, if I could use my name, that would be great. But somebody with 4 followers that was created in 2008 or something like that has the name at Ryan Blackburn, and I'm super pissed about it.
Okay. Yeah. So the Russ thing is, let's talk about that another time. I think it's
like, look,
I think it sucks. It's unavoidable, and like it's not surprising to me. It's like I've talked about it all year. It's just like I think he wants different for himself, and I think that the team wants different for him, and it's just not working. And it is his fault, but it's like you can't ask somebody to be an entirely different person, and that's the problem. And that just is unfortunate. Some people are adaptable and some people are not. We're learning a lot about that this week. I want to credit Jalen for a number of reasons. Okay. Now look, every good Jalen game, I'm going to be like, okay, like, hey, he had a great game, having a great stretch of games here. We'll see, because like Zeke had a great stretch of games. Yeah. And Jalen also like completely like lost his mind at the end of that Pacers game because he was in there. Like, we could talk about all we want about Russ closing, but like that was bad too. Now Jalen tonight hits a massive corner 3, and Jalen is in general a very low mistake player. And I don't know how you don't like the way that the team plays, and it makes sense because Jalen can shoot, dribble, and pass, and the Nuggets need more guys that can shoot, dribble, and pass. He's got size, so defensively he's actually surprisingly versatile.
Yeah,
that probably gets solved in a playoff series. Like, teams will probably be like, what if we do this? Oh, this works against him. Okay. But like teams have tried things like, all right, let's post him with the bigs on switches. Oh, that doesn't work because he's chunky. So like that doesn't work. And teams have tried a number of things. I don't think he's locked down, but he's going to present different matchup problems. And I love the fact that they have somebody else that provides a different look, because that's one of the things is like Julian doesn't provide a look defensively. I like Julian, and I think Julian is actually going to wind up being a really good NBA player. Right now, he doesn't provide any sort of look defensively. Is 25 minutes for Peyton right in line with where he's been?
It actually is. Part of that is because sometimes he is starting and he'll play kind of in that 35 to 40 minute range. Usually when he comes off the bench, he's in the 20 to 25 minute range. So this was on the upper end. This was like, it is interesting. He like that, if that could also be one of the main changes, is that Russ is usually the first guy off the bench for Denver in all of these situations. This time it was Peyton, and they didn't go with any 2 point guard lineups or anything like that to try to play Russ and Jalen together. They just went with Peyton. It was pretty simple. They didn't try to complicate anything, and I think that's a credit to David Adelman. Like, here, rather than try to put your own stamp on the game, just make things simple and allow the players to play and get out of the way and hope that they pick you up a little bit. And they did. But yeah, Peyton is going to be important. And I've been pretty like, look, you remember the first hypothetical rotation chart that I put out post All-Star break of like, hey, this is how I think that they need to use Peyton Watson. This is how I think they need to use Russell Westbrook. It was about 20 to 25 minutes for Russ and about 24 minutes for Peyton. He has to be ready. He has to be their versatile kind of defensive Swiss Army knife. And he showed a little bit of that tonight.
Jokic tonight, in case you were wondering, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals, 1 turnover, +9. Light night of work for Jokic. 5 of 12 from the field. I thought Harrison went over at DNVR had a really good comment, which is like, this is the kind of game that Jokic wants to play offensively. I think he's probably right. Yes. Like, I don't think Jokic does not love 60-40, like 60-20-10. Like, that's not what he wants. He doesn't. And it's not that it's not the work. He's always willing to do the work. He's always willing to carry the load. It's that to him, that's not how basketball should be played, dominated by one person, where one person's scoring over double teams. His ability to do so is irrelevant to his feelings on that. And so getting 21 points from Michael Porter Jr. on 4 of 8 from 3 and getting 21 from Aaron Gordon on 9 of 16 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. I'm really worried about the 3-pointer. Christian Brown, 25, because like Christian's just, you can just pencil in Christian for 20 plus pretty much every single night now.
He was a monster in the first half.
He was.
I give him a ton of credit. Honestly, give the starters a ton of credit as a group. They brought it, and that first half was a really good explanation of that. And the third quarter, I thought, was a really good example for sure. Christian's playing with confidence. He took it very personally. I think he's taken a lot personally over the course of these last few weeks, and played like it tonight, in that he really wanted to set the tone. By the way, Nikola Jokic is 4 assists away from 700 on the season, and he's played 68 games so far. So if he plays both of the next 2 games, all he needs is 4 assists to confirm averaging a triple-double as a center. 10.0 assists.
Seems good.
Seems pretty good.
Seems pretty good. There's been more MVP talk for him today than previously, which I think is really interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Aren't the odds still very much in favor of Shea?
Yeah. But as a reminder, and this is it's a very good question, Ryan. And this is Mormon is this is a good opportunity for me to speak on something that I know about, rather than all the other things I talk about, which I don't know about. We do this thing, and it's really dangerous, actually. So, regardless of how you feel about betting, it's part of the discourse now, and I understand people's frustrations with it. This is not about that. What happens is, here's the odds. So he's got to be it's got to be him. People are going to vote for him. That's not how this works. So what happens is, odds makers will set a line based off of what they think will happen, and then the market will bet it. And they'll make adjustments based off of an increase in likelihood. So if a player's not going to play enough games, his odds go down. When the Bucks were on a losing streak every single day, you watch Giannis's MVP odds. It's not necessarily indicative of who's going to vote. Now, I think Shea's going to win. We all think Shea's going to win. None of us are mad about the fact that Shea's going to win. There'll be some grumbling, I think, in Denver for some time about him not winning this one. I will always think 2023 was worse. But This is also his best season. So it's Shea. I think Shea's case is better than the person that won in 2023. But I also think this season is better than 2023 because this is the best offensive season of all time. I'm just saying that I wouldn't rule it out yet. And when the odds are move like that, that's more a reflection of what that says is that the books taking money are saying we do not want anyone to bet on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because that bet is going to win. So we're putting the price at such a number that you cannot find value on it. It's here, it's available because we have the market open. But we're going to make it painful for you. That's what that's saying instead of it being the odds of it actually occurring.
Okay.
So good win for Adelman. Tone's been good. Jokic after the game awoke the beast, etc. Josh Kroenke was in the building, by the way. That was on altitude. He was there with his circle of advisors.
Interesting.
Ben Tenzer, by the way, GM of the Gold, was in town. An assistant. He's also, I believe, director of player personnel. And Dimoff from altitude was there as well, so that was notable. And yeah, I mean, look, the reality might be, as much as I think that everybody loved Malone, and I still continue to think that they did, I do believe that at some point the tension, we've gotten into so much about like the losses of it, and we've talked a lot about the conflict, but I do think that it's the conflict between Malone and Booth was getting in the way. And I do think like this is like a really good thing for the locker room, where it's like David Adelman can just play Jalen Pickett.
Yeah.
And it's not succumbing to the Booth plan. And he can just play that, just do that. And it's not a battle over anything. It's not an existential war. It's just, hey, the kid's got to go in tonight. We're going to play him. Because there might be a matchup where David Adelman, like, here, I will say also this is like, we will take this as like, David Adelman believes in Jalen Pickett and sees that Russell Westbrook is a problem. Like, that will be a take. And what I would tell you that if you actually ask David Adelman, he's probably gonna be like, I like the matchup. Like, this is a good game for like Jalen was able to bring us what we needed in this game. There's gonna be a game where Russ is gonna bring us what we need.
100%.
That's all it is.
100%.
And now that doesn't mean that I don't hear from people that are like, yeah, but like Russ makes mistakes. It makes me want to tear my own eyes out. I hear you. I sit next to one of you at games.
Yes, you do.
And Jalen's mistakes are very much quieter. He makes them, but they're very much quieter. They are not screaming out of an amplifier. And that just, I think it makes it. Here's the thing. Russell Westbrook and Jalen Pickett can make the same amount of mistakes, and you will feel better about the mistakes that Jalen Pickett makes.
Yeah, like, and it's always been a pet peeve of mine for sure. I do like quieter players in a lot of these cases because it allows for Denver's natural skills and their high IQ to really show in that case without being able to take away from it. So it's not like, again, not a Russ criticism, but like, I just like, I like what Jalen has provided, and I'm just happy for him that he doesn't have to be pulled apart in this situation. And
yeah,
the metaphor that I used today when talking to somebody in the league was that it was like Malone and Booth were taking turns like shaking up a soda can and just passing it back and forth. And the hope was that the can would never explode. And the tension just kept building and building and building and building. And ultimately it just popped. And it was a great old mess. And now you don't have that tension anymore. The cat's already out of the bag. All the stories have been written, and there will probably be more that are written. But ultimately, now you can just move on, and guys like Jalen Pickett can breathe a sigh of relief and say, hey, let's just go play basketball.
I tried to be as like supportive yesterday for people both in the organization and fans I talked to as I could. I think it was like a really sad day for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm writing about how sad it was. I wrote about that actually for the newsletter. Sorry. I forgot I wrote that because it's been a day. I wrote that like how sad it was. And you can read that piece over at lockedondaily.com for people's thoughts and feelings about it. And it wasn't really for me because I was like in news break. I was like reporting and, you know, being locked in and trying to do the job and analyze it. And I recognize the sadness. I didn't really feel it. I was sad today because like watching David Adelman's pregame presser and just being like, it hit me. I was like, that's it. Like, I've already been to Michael Malone's last presser as the coach of the Denver Nuggets.
It's wild.
That hit me. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, because I mean, I've been going to that guy's pressers for 10 years.
Yeah,
you know, I was there at his introductory press conference. You know, he and I talked. He and I used to talk a lot after events and things like that, after practices and stuff. I've spent. it's weird because like you spend these like little bits of time with coaches, but I've just spent so much of it through the years. And so like I was sad, but the team seems really happy, and that's good. Like the team seems like they're relieved and they're reinvigorated, and they're in their careers. This is their time for making money and expanding their careers and winning, and that's going to make everyone feel better in town. So that's really good.
I'm sure, by the way, also everybody will almost to a man thank Michael Malone and thank Calvin Booth for the work that they did. And I think that sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's okay. Like it's unfortunate that it had to get to this place, but
it also didn't work out after it worked out for 10 years in a title.
Right, so. Exactly. So you relieve the pressure, you turn the page, and hopefully people can continue to move on, play Denver Nuggets basketball, and who knows, maybe they awoken the beast.
All right, that's going to do it for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. We are like 400 away. We're so close to 10,000. I am begging you to help me out and go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, hit like and subscribe. You can give us a 5-star review. We appreciate those as well. Check out our newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Swipe will be with you tomorrow to give you his thoughts on gestures broadly. And you can catch those. And then Swipe and I'll catch up on Friday before the Nuggets big game versus not Memphis. Who is it? Memphis Friday? Yeah, it's Memphis Friday.
Go to Houston on Sunday. I get them flipped every time.
So we'll talk then, and then after the game on Friday. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.